During the 1930s, the role of women as the subordinate race was firmly re-established due to the Great Depression.
Women are capable of anything. They can take on any job because they have been doing it for ages.
Single-handed. She must know how to cook, know food. She must know how to set her table attractively. She must know how to make her home comfortable and inviting. She must know the worth of labor-saving devices and how best to conserve her time and energy. She must know clothes, how to buy, and how to make them.
Since all the men were being drafted, the government wanted the women to come to work. Many women were happy to help out, but others were worried because it was not in the norm. But besides taking over their jobs, the women were helping the men out as much as they could in the war.
From the NBC newsroom in New York, President Roosevelt said in a statement today that the Japanese have attacked the Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, from the air.
Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
From then on, the roles of women changed in society. Soon the women started taking on other men's roles, like being in the army. They stood in line saluting, just like the men. They were just as patriotic as the men that were fighting. They showed it by proudly holding the U.S. flag. In order to convert the skeptical women, the government created Rosie the Riveter. She represented the ideal working woman. Rosie was an inspiration to many women across America. The government made many posters to try and make the working woman seem like the ideal person to be. The propaganda worked to bring in more women, even though the women had to work in men's jobs. Soon they wanted to be a part too, because they felt they were in the war just as much as the men. The women wanted to do everything in their effort to help, rather than just wait around. Instead of sitting and waiting, they passed the time by helping out with the war.
After the start of the war, the military realized they would need to rely heavily on women in order to provide the support they would need. The military quickly established organizations specifically for women. Namely, the WAC, the Women's Army Corps, provided women the opportunity to be Army nurses. They would serve as secretaries, all while serving the same uniform that men did.
Before long, the women weren't just working for the men, but with the men. Many women took on the role of nursing injured men back to health. More and more nurses became needed, so the government started propaganda on that too. Eventually, the women went with the men to war. Whether they were nursing the men or fighting with them, women were needed. The new ideal women were strong and powerful, unlike the ideal women before the war, who were soft and feminine. Many women joined the army, young and old. Soon, women were doing things that no one had ever dreamed they could do, like working on engines and trains. They even started modeling and doing what no one ever thought they could. The women started building the machines that the men would be using in battle. They even started designing the machines and instruments that the men would be needing. Even though they did the work of men, they still dressed like proper ladies. The women worked long and hard days without rest for the war effort. The government sold war bonds and encouraged everyone to make money in order to buy them for the war effort. The women worked where they could do the best. They quit jobs that didn't suit them, just like men did. At the end of the war, the women had contributed so much that the government gave them their credit with this memorial.
Rosie, 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 the riveter, on the assembly